Hello, beautiful people out there. Chelsea here for, this is episode 22 of Multifaceted. Just sitting with that feels good to be able to continue to come on here and to share the messages that I have for you just on the multi-dimensionality of who we are. It's not a simple thing that is covered in just one quick topic. This is an ongoing, unfolding topic that has been and continues to be such a delight for me to explore and expand into. And November is all about manifesting. So as I come on here every Monday at 1 p.m. Mountain Time to chat with you about various things, of course, each month there is a theme. And for the month of November, we are talking about manifesting. If you're just catching this and you haven't caught last week's, make sure that you do go back and watch it. It's not necessarily something that you need to watch before watching this, but there is a stepwise process that I'm taking you through over each of the months of, the weeks, the Mondays of November. And of course, in a moment, I'll be diving into part 2, which is really all about feeling safe enough to dream, feeling safe enough to really open up to what your big vision could look like, what it is that you really desire. And in order for us to do that, we need to feel safe. So I'm going to go into all of what that means, and we'll do all of that in a moment. But I just want to check in. And again, just thank you for watching. Thank you for being here and for participating in this. If you are participating, of course, last week, the first part of this whole process was all about looking at where we might need to move the energy. That was the whole conversation in last Monday's Multifaceted. We talked about decluttering and the process of really starting to look at areas in our lives, whether they're physical, whether they're energetic, whether they're emotional, where clutter might be getting in the way of us starting to move the energy. So that was step 1. So would love to hear from those of you who are following along. Did you do some decluttering? If you recall, I didn't necessarily say that the process is to declutter everything all at once, although, why not if you have the time and the energy, but definitely appreciating that we are all busy. We have a lot going on. We have, more pressure than we're probably used to in the last couple of years, feeling pressure from all sorts of areas of our lives, our relationships, our dynamics with our family, things in general, can feel a little bit more complicated right now than they have over the last couple of years. So, I know that we're all feeling that. So again, this whole process is meant to be pleasurable. This is something that is really important in the work that I do and the work that I share. Anytime we start to make some shifts, we want to find ways to make them enjoyable so that we don't just stop. Because often when we go through any transformative process, it does move the energy, it does stir things up, and it can. Our brains are wired to want to keep things the same. And this is why, when I shared about this, I hold on to the artwork of my children, probably more so than I could, because they are both creative beings. They're constantly making beautiful pieces of artwork. And so that is one of my sources of things piling up. So of course, with decluttering, it can be an emotional process. So you want to start with something that isn't as emotional necessarily. So we all have various areas in our lives that can build up with clutter. Even something as simple as the desktop on your computer, your wallet, your bag, your car, the interior of your car, just kind of starting with an actionable step that is really doable and reasonable. So that was all what we covered last week. I would love to hear what you did or what you're planning on doing if you're following along. And, just share the experience. Or if you need to or feel called to reach out to me and talk about this, if you have any questions, you are more than welcome to contact me about this. Excellent work, Tamara. Good job. So now today we are diving into part 2. And when I first, started teaching this list, of course, we taught this last year. My beautiful friend Leah and I taught this in our manifestation mastery masterclass that we taught last December. And step 2 is all around getting clarity on what it is that we desire for our lives. But I realized when I was putting this together this go round that in order to feel clear on what we desire, we also need to feel safe. So if we're in a state of anxiety or high stress, then it might be harder for us to visualize or imagine what life could look like beyond the particular situation that we might currently be in. I shared about this in the Comeback Queen last night. I had a kind of an intuition to talk a little bit about, getting out of our heads and getting more into our hearts, because if you tune in to what it is that you really desire, it's not so much always logical. It's not so much always something that makes sense. It's often something that feels big and expansive and sometimes scary, but even so, we can feel the desire. It's not necessarily something that's like we just want it because it, is a frivolous thing, it's a fancy thing. It's something that really lands. And again, it's not just necessarily one thing. This could potentially be a whole new lifestyle, a whole new world for you. And this is something that I teach in the roadmap to your comeback. So again, we're just kind of keeping things simple in this whole process. And we're just kind of exploring this high level. But know that if you are desiring to have an experience of really looking at where you are right now and where you could go, and really going through a process in a way that feels safe, because of course, as I mentioned, this is something that is really important. In order for us to feel clear, we need to feel safe to be able to even ask for what it is that we desire. If you think about that, if there's something that you wanted in your life and you needed to ask for it, if you were asking from a place of fear of, if I asked, something bad might happen, again, thinking of it kind of more from the experience of a child asking for something, if I asked for something, I might be told that I am, this or that, right? All of the things that we might have actually literally experienced when we were young, asking for things, actually really putting ourselves in the position of saying, I desire this in my life. And many of us have at some point potentially been told that that was selfish, or that was asking too much, or all of the other things that might have been kind of embedded in our consciousness around opening up to what it is that we desire. So feeling safe, how do we get to that place where we can feel safe enough to open up to what it is that we desire? Now, this is sort of a bigger topic and not necessarily something that we can cover here in this conversation, but just know that if this is a block for you, if this becomes an area where you feel stuck, that there are all sorts of ways to really rapidly clear through this particular block, where you can just basically start to understand a little bit more what is contributing to the lack of feeling safe around asking for what it is that you desire. Thank you, John. So basically, feeling safe is something that I think we all really, it's like a birthright, right? But it's not something that we all have. And our previous experience, whatever it was that we've been through in our lives, whatever trauma we've experienced around, asking for things that we desire, are things that we just really need to kind of heal through in this process. So if you're also finding that, you have a desire to advance in your income level, if you have a desire to, bring your business to a higher level and you've been struggling, that feeling of being safe could also be a barrier. It might not feel safe to you, and this might not be something that you're conscious of. It might be something that's embedded in your subconscious. It might be in your cells, right? Like, this is something that we just need to look at and explore. So if you have found that you felt stuck at a particular level, exploring your level of feeling safe is really important. So let's assume that we've done the healing work and we've gotten ourselves to the point of feeling safe. And again, if you're feeling stuck in that area, know that there are all sorts of beautifully supportive ways that you can rapidly shift through that. If you have any interest in finding out more about that, the first step would be to book in for a free strategy session where we can talk about what that looks like for you. So if you're interested in that, definitely reach out to me. So the next step is just getting really clear on what it is that we desire. And often, again, when we try to do this just with our conscious thinking mind, we can bump up against voices in our mind. This could potentially be messaging that we received all through our lives about why, we shouldn't ask for that, why we can't have this or that. When you try to think about it consciously, often those thoughts, those voices, those old, really, they're tired, old beliefs and thoughts that we can release and we can let go of. So in order to actually get to a place where you can start to just dream, like start to really get to a place where you can imagine all that's possible, because literally anything is possible. If it's something that you desire, that's the first step, that creation stage. If you can see it, if you can visualize it, then you're already on your way to making it happen. There's, of course, things that need to happen. It doesn't just magically materialize in front of you right away. There's a process to it, right? There's an energetic process, there's an actionable process, there's things that might need to take place. But clarity, which is really part 2 of this whole manifestation process, clarity is important. Because if you just kind of have these sort of random but not really pieced together ideas of what life could look like, you're more likely going to just kind of stay in that experience of, oh, wouldn't it be nice to have this? Wouldn't it be nice if I was doing this? And I just want to share a story about how this whole process went for me a couple of years ago, really probably about 10 years ago now. I believe it was around 2011 when this all started to come together for me, because back then I was not a happy person. I was literally a stress case. I was just, my sense of safety in my choices, in the decisions I made, in the contracts I signed, and the people that I had relationships with. Nothing really felt safe. Nothing really felt secure. And definitely it didn't really feel all of that life enhancing. It didn't feel like I was in this experience of what is possible. It felt a lot more like something really confining. I felt trapped. And, often when we make choices in our lives that result in us feeling trapped, it's like, can be really uncomfortable to actually look at that and to look at the mindset, the choices, the actions that got us where we were. So here I was 10 years ago, just really feeling so unhappy, so trapped, so stuck, and just having this moment of really just owning that I chose that. I actively chose all of these things. And that was confronting, but it was also, something that opened up a door for me to actually start to envision what was possible. And that's what lifestyle design coaching is all about. And really, literally in that moment, I was practicing as a naturopath. I was working at a very large clinic that, the contract I had signed was a 5-year contract, and I wasn't happy there. And I think I was maybe in 1.5 years in. And there was so much that was going on, my relationship, I was a new mom. I just felt so overwhelmed and so stuck, and it just felt so impossible. But as soon as I, just started sinking into this feeling of just really safely, and I did this through I actually literally went on to learn how to be a lifestyle design coach. So through the process of designing my own life, I was learning how to do this for others and to help support others in this process. That feeling safe was a big part of that journey. And with support, I was able to get myself to a place where, even though I was right in the thick of it, I was able to open up. And we can't do that just with our brains. We need to really access the heart. We need to allow ourselves that feeling of what life could look like if we were able to put it all together literally by design. Like if you could be the architect of your future possibility and you knew that you could have anything you wanted. And of course, that might start to raise alarm bells. We got to, again, look at where those feelings of lack of safety are coming from so we can soothe those, so we can clear them, right? So that we can start to move forward. But if you could design your life, if you were the architect of your future life and you knew that anything was possible, and you could just close your eyes and visualize, say, 2 years from now, what that would look like. Close your eyes and walk around in what your home looks like and who you're spending your time with and who you're interacting with, and what your closet looks like, what your bank account looks like, what kinds of foods you're eating, what you're doing for work. Again, with the idea that this gets to be pleasurable. All of these things, if you could design them exactly the way you desire them to be, and that it's pleasurable. So starting to look at that and just starting to get really clear. And you can also use life exactly as it is right now as clues as well. What are the things that, don't feel good right now? So that experience that you're currently having of all sorts of things, whether it's in relationships, whether it's in the way that you take care of your body, whether it's in the types of things that you have in your immediate surroundings, whatever that looks like, how those things make you feel right now will give you so many clues. And again, through this whole process, we also need to be able to just kind of accept and surrender where we are right now before we can start to move through it and start to make shifts. So again, this is I'm so passionate about this topic. I love this work. And of course, through the month of November, we're just kind of taking it high level. But I just want to share all of these different nuances and factors that come into play when we look at this whole topic of, it's important for us to feel safe in order for us to really dream. And so I really hope that this is sparking some ideas for you, that it's helping you start to realize this safety piece and this whole aspect of really just looking at where are the barriers for you, what's standing in your way of being able to visualize a life that's pleasurable for you, a life that's beautiful, a life that feels aligned, that feels magical, that feels like you're able to be in your truth. Because again, 10 years ago, the me 10 years ago, number one, I wouldn't be able to have this conversation. I was terrified to speak. I was terrified to share my message. I was terrified to even have a picture of myself floating around on social media. And now I mean, that's part of the work that I do, is the photo shoot side of my business. So, there's a lot of transformation that comes through this process as well. And I think it's just really important to recognize and honor wherever we are wherever we're starting from, it's all perfect. The timeline, the process, it's all perfect. So wherever you are right now, it's just the perfect place to be to start to look at this. But again, in order for us to move forward, and we're going through, I'm taking you through this high-level journey through the month of November. We started with moving the energy. We started with clearing out clutter. Now, this week, we're starting to look at where are the barriers for you to feel safe so that you can start to get clear on what you want. And if you are feeling stuck or struggling at this place, just know there's all sorts of supports. And, you know, there's all sorts of even free supports for you out there. But the Comeback Queen is my group for anyone who associates as queen and who is really rebuilding their lives, going through the process of reinventing themselves, ready to start visioning, knowing that there might be a whole process involved. So within that group, I have all sorts of free resources and supports and lives and masterclasses where you can access them and be a part of the community and receive support. There's also, of course, many group coaching opportunities that I have. This Wednesday, we are having our next Spark Over Sabotage group coaching program. So if you're interested in looking at potentially how sabotage might be one of the barriers, that's often one of the things that can get in the way. It's like a fear of success, or a fear of what would happen if I actually really get what I want. Sometimes that can be just as scary as staying stuck where you are right now. So Spark Over Sabotage happens every other Wednesday at 10:30, from 10:30 to noon. And so if you are interested in group coaching support, that's available for you. Again, reach out. I also have a program, another group program called Evoke, which is really specifically for new entrepreneurs that are really starting to put together their online business or whatever other business it is that they're working on, but especially heart-centered businesses that really ask of you to be who you fully are, to really fully step into your purpose, and understanding, because I've been on that journey for quite some time now, that can also be confronting. There can be blocks and barriers. So Evoke is almost like a training ground. It's a place where you can receive support on your journey. It's a place where you can have the opportunity to really share your work in a small place, get feedback, and just really practice. And there's a lot of teaching and training that goes on there as well, just kind of relevant to whatever the group needs. It's kind of like customized group coaching. If you have something that you need support on, you can ask it within the Facebook group. And I go live within that group every Thursday afternoon to do a particular training. And we also have a monthly Zoom meeting where we meet for an hour. So that is Evoke. And then one other really exciting thing that I want to share about, this is especially for female entrepreneurs who are also healers. I'm part of a really beautiful collaborative teaching and healing experience that is taking place from the month of November all the way up until January, and it's called Lucky Witch. And I'm so excited to be part of this. I'm so excited to be co-leading this with some really incredible women. If you want to know more about Lucky Witch, then let me know. But also, part of why I'm sharing is next Monday, November 15th, we have a masterclass. And I have to double check. I'm not sure if it conflicts with Multifaceted, but I might actually end up needing to move this time so I can do both. So I will give you an update on that if that's the case. But next Monday, and of course, this program is a 3-month-long program. We go through all sorts of levels of healing, levels of really feeling like, you know, you're struggling to be able to speak and share your message, looking at sisterhood, looking at stepping into leadership, all of these things that we're teaching on. There are women within the group that are experts in human design and astrology and conscious business. And so it's just a really powerful team. And we are doing the 13 astrological initiations that we're going throughout this time. And we're teaching on all sorts of other really powerful things. But this Monday, one of the really beautiful pieces of this program that I'm so excited to be a part of is a whole discussion around cryptocurrency and investing and starting to really understand, these new levels of prosperity that are available that, might be a little bit new and overwhelming and uncertain. And this is something that I've just started to explore myself, but we have an expert that's going to be coming in and talking about what this is all about and how this is a way that you can also start to increase more prosperity and potential for growth within your life. So if you are interested in this Lucky Witch program, if you're interested in our cryptocurrency conversation, that is starting on Monday next week. I'll have to double check the time, but just know within this 3-month program, you receive access to all of the recordings as well. This is something I'm also going to be sharing about in a separate post. So when I have, a bit more of the details clear, I'll share all about it, so you can watch out for that as well and join us if you are feeling called to the whole program. It's not necessarily just the one thing that you can attend. It's like if you're part of the whole process, then you experience that, but of course you experience master classes from all of these other incredible women in the program. And I am so excited. We've had our first week and it is just incredibly magical. My dear friend Sonia has put together something that I just am so honored and thrilled to be a part of, and it's already been such an incredible journey. All right, so just to recap, before I close off for today in this manifestation journey, last week we talked about moving the energy and just starting to clear out clutter. Today was an exploration in, do we feel safe enough in our bodies, in our hearts, to start to dream of what's possible, with the understanding that anything is possible, anything that we desire is possible. But in order for us to really feel safe enough to get clear and start to explore that, we need to kind of look at some of the barriers or blocks or thoughts or emotions that might be standing in our way. And so again, if you're feeling stuck at that stage, if, that question of, if you could have, actually not if, with the understanding that anything you desire to create is possible and that you could be the architect of your own life and create it in a way that just felt so magically aligned, on purpose, and really pleasurable for yourself. How does that sit? How does that land? How does that feel? And if that's something that feels like it's a struggle to get to, then just know there's all sorts of incredible ways to help clear that, help you to feel safe in asking for what it is that you truly desire. Of course, there's a big worthiness piece there. There's a whole other conversation that can come out of this, but hi Christy, thank you, nice to see you here. We are just walking through this path. So every Monday in November, going through these beautiful 5 steps of manifestation. I will see you here again next Monday at 1 p.m. Mountain Standard Time for part 3 of this conversation. Looking forward to it. Thank you to all of you who have been here watching, those of you watching the replay. Don't forget to share in the comments or reach out to me. I'd love to hear how this whole process is going for you. Any thoughts, any questions? Would love to find out more. And thank you so much for being here, Christy. So much love to everyone else who's been on live or watching the replay. Talk to you soon.